Let's get it. 580 Sports Talk is live and direct on a Tuesday. We are with you for the next 3 hours, a jam-packed edition of Sports Talk today on the Sports Voice of Kansas, 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com, and of course, in living color on our YouTube stream. Our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk. You can also watch us on YouTube at WIBW News. However, you're joining in on this Tuesday afternoon. Thanks for being with us from the tippy top. We're going to have a funky good time on this Tuesday. My name is Dan Lucero. Spencer Dupuis will be along in a bit. Brendan Wrzinski is off today. When I say jam-packed, I'm not lying, folks. We've got a lot to get to on this Tuesday edition of 580 Sports Talk. What we do not have to talk about, at least right this second, is a Kansas City Royals trade. And I thought after last night, and I even wrote it for the benefit of Brendan and Spencer in the show rundown, the show notes we put together every day. I thought between when I went to bed and right now, or I guess a minute ago when I took the mic hot for the first time, I thought the Royals would have made a move. Because last night showed if they want to have a ghost of a chance to doing anything here these final 2 months of the season, they got to make a move. But it's a little bit of a holding pattern right now. It's not just the Royals who are inactive. It's all of Major League Baseball. The buyers and the sellers kind of playing a game of chicken right now. Nobody's blinking. Deadlines, of course, spur action, and we are 2 days and less than 2 hours now away from the Major League Baseball trade deadline. And in recent years, activity has tended to pick up in the final 48 hours, which, again, we are just about to get around to. But last night made it painfully clear that if the Royals truly want to make a run in 2025, they got to go get a starting pitcher because it can't be Rich Hill every 5 days. It can't be. It's a fun story. It's a great play for your immaculate grid these days. Could have used him today, I think. Could you have used him today? The Royals were on the grid today. I'm trying to think. Was it right? Yeah, Royals-Dodgers. Yeah, you could have used Rich Hill today on the immaculate grid. If he's taking the ball every 5 days, this team's not going anywhere. They're not. And it's really obvious. And now it's almost as important that the Royals add a depth starting pitcher as it is that they add a bat, which they still need a bat, even though they did score 7 runs last night. So I really did. I thought we'd be talking about a Royals move today. I kind of thought top of the show, Royals are going to go do something, even if it's just add like a back-end starting pitcher who is not 45 years old. But they have not done that. They have stood pat. The roster they have right now is the same roster they had at the end of last night's 10-7 loss to the Braves. We're going to talk about that. We're going to get into some of that. I have some final thoughts on the Seth Lugo extension that I want to talk through because I think that even if you think that the Royals are being a little unrealistic about their chances in 2025, and if they go out and go add, they probably are. It's like we laid out the playoff odds going into yesterday were 1-8 according to Fangraphs, and Fangraphs playoff odds don't know that Chris Bubich is out for the season, so the odds aren't great, right? And you could see every reason why they're not great on display last night. But even if they're not being realistic about 2025 in the front office right now, I still think they're being realistic about 2026. And that's why the Seth Lugo extension makes sense. And I'll get into that a little bit later on. So, yeah, we'll talk some baseball today. But, eventful day at Chiefs camp. Injuries, fights, a position battle potentially emerging. A lot going on. It was hot. It is hot. You don't need me to tell you it's hot. But it was hot in St. Joe this morning, too. And the temperatures rise. So do tempers. And Josh Simmons and Ashton Gelati staged a little impromptu fight night. That happened. A bunch of wide receivers got dinged up. Is there anything to be worried about? Plus, Jalen Moore at left guard. ahead of Kingsley Suamataia for some of the first team work today. So that is extremely interesting. So we will get into that, the full day at Chiefs camp, and we'll hear from Andy Reid, who spoke to the media afterward. He'll clear up all the injury stuff, and then we will hear from the presumed starting left guard, Kingsley Suamataia, who spoke to the media earlier today, and it became very relevant to hear from him in light of Jalen Moore taking some of his first team reps at left guard today. So we'll talk about all of that. Lots of Chiefs stuff to get to on the show today. Jam-packed with guests today. We've got 3 great guests coming your way on 580 Sports Talk today. At the bottom of this hour, the Kansas Sports Hall of Fame class of 2025 will be formally inducted in a ceremony on Saturday at the Washburn University Memorial Union. Tickets are still on sale if you want to go see the induction ceremony that includes the likes of Tim Jankovich and Larry Brown, the former K-State football star, Mark Mangino, who was inducted last year but missed the ceremony. He's going to get a chance to get honored in person on Saturday. Some great luminaries of Kansas sports will be honored on Saturday, and tickets are still available for the ceremony, which takes place at 10 a.m. Saturday. You can go find tickets at kshof.org. Had the privilege of speaking with Bobby Randall, one of the Hall of Fame inductees this year in the class of 2025. Bobby Randall from tiny Gove, Kansas, all Big 8 player at Kansas State, 5 years in the major leagues with the Minnesota Twins, and later went on to a long college coaching career at Iowa State, Kansas, and Manhattan Christian College. So Bobby Randall will join the program bottom of this hour, and we will get his story from Gove, Kansas to the major leagues and beyond. If y'all don't know where Gove, Kansas is, it is a speck of a speck on a map south of Grainfield and Grinnell in western Kansas, northwest Kansas. So Bobby Randall at the bottom of this hour with the Kansas Sports Hall of Fame class of 2025. Bottom of the 4 o'clock hour, Michael Swain, Fog.net, part of the 24/7 Sports Network. Get Michael's thoughts on what's going on at KU football camp, the latest KU basketball news, and more. Michael Swain, bottom of the 4 o'clock hour for Jayhawk Weekly. And at the 5 o'clock hour, 5:25, day 2 of our training camp reports with Mitch Holtis, brought to you by Hy-Vee and Azura Credit Union. Mitch Holtis will join us, and today we're talking about number 15. And the thing that has happened that we swore we would not let happen, given the less than stellar history of quarterbacks in Kansas City Chiefs uniform, and maybe you yourself, maybe from the Chiefs perspective, it hasn't started to happen yet. But folks are starting to take Patrick Mahomes for granted just a little bit. And we got to correct the record. You know Mitch is going to help us correct the record on that when we have him on for a training camp report at 5:25. So, jam-packed show, plus all of your typical Tuesday shenanigans on the program. 580 Sports Talk headlines. Final day of a short week on what is wrong with you, so we can do our semifinals for July tomorrow and our championship on the final day of July on Thursday. Random question Tuesday as well. And we'll continue our Chiefs countdown to kickoff. Also want to hear from you. The text line is open, 785-272-9429. That is 785-272-9429. That is the text line number. You can also get at us in the YouTube chat. We want to hear from you if you're watching the program on our YouTube stream. Again, the name of the channel is 580 Sports Talk. It's an easy one to remember. Go subscribe to the channel if you have not already. We are now 30 subscribers shy of the arm wrestling match of the century between me and Brendan Dorzinski live on the show. When we get to 800 subscribers, we're picking up about a subscriber a day. Make it happen. Who's our hero today that's going to go subscribe to the YouTube channel? 580 Sports Talk's the name of the channel. Hit that subscribe button. Doesn't cost you a thing, but time and a push of your thumb. And if you are watching the show on YouTube today, first of all, welcome. Second of all, hop in the chat. Interact with your fellow listeners. Interact with your hosts as we go along on the program. See who's in today. See Mark H is in. Andrew, Vance, Joe, Paul is in as well. It's great to see all of you. Look forward to hearing from you guys throughout the show and more of you joining the fray in that live chat over on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk. And if you're not watching the show, but you want to make your voice heard, you can text the program too. Again, 785-272-9429. Breaking Royals news before we get into talking about last night's game. The Royals also came to the same conclusion I did after watching the game last night, that, it can't be Rich Hill every 5 days, because Rich Hill is no longer a Kansas City Royal. He has been designated for assignment by the Royals, removing him from the 40-man roster. The corresponding move is to select the contract of pitcher Thomas Hatch from AAA Omaha. I don't know that he's going to be a whole lot better than Rich Hill. I suspect he might be in line to start Wednesday, because the Royals had to lean so heavy on their bullpen last night. A 10-7 loss to the Braves made it less likely that they were going to be able to ham and egg a bullpen day on Wednesday afternoon. So my guess is Hatch is probably your Wednesday starter, and then we'll see where it goes from there. These are not great circumstances the Royals find themselves in. Like, you can look at the standings and you can say, look, they're a hot week and they're right back in it, right? And the ingredients for a hot week are there because you have some good starting pitching and a mostly reliable bullpen, and you have a superstar in Bobby Witt Jr. who can carry you on his back for a week at a time, and Salvi's been hot, and Benny's going good again, and Maikel Garcia's seeing the ball really well. Like, the ingredients are there, and then you realize what the Royals are trying to do to keep a 26-man roster on the field, that they had to go trade for a guy like Randall Grichuk, who, hey, he homered last night, had a couple of hits. He's going to pound lefties. He's not out of place. In fact, he's got a place in a very left-handed heavy Royals lineup. Frankly, he's better in that role than Mark Canha. But if you're having to go trade for Randall Grichuk in late July, and you're having to call up 45-year-old Rich Hill, and then you're having to DFA 45-year-old Rich Hill and call up a guy in Thomas Hatch who hasn't pitched in the big leagues in God knows how long, you're not in great shape, man. You're in a bad way, and that's where the Royals find themselves in. They are in a bad way right now, and it was all kind of exposed last night in that 10-7 loss to the Braves. 2 notes about last night's game. First time all year that the Royals had scored 6 or more runs in regulation and lost. If you can believe that. They had scored 7 and lost in that wild extra inning game in Miami, first game out of the All-Star break, when the Royals came from behind, tied that game at 5 in the 9th, and then they scored 2 in the 10th, but the Marlins got 3. Stowers homered off of Estevez and won the ball game. So they've technically got 2 losses when they score more than 6 runs. But this is the first time all year they've scored 6 or more in the regulation 9 innings and not won the ball game. And that is what happens when you walk 14 freaking guys. 14 walks. It tied a franchise record. I know at least one was intentional. Just the one, Steven Cruz putting Ronald Acuna Jr. on base in his inning, the 7th. I think he could have, or was that the 8th? That's 7th or the 8th. Put him on base. I think that was the 8th inning. It blurs together when you're watching a game like that. Let me put a question to you folks, and you can answer this on the text line. You can answer this in the YouTube chat. What is the most unpleasant kind of game in sports to watch? Because for me, last night's Royals game is the correct answer to that question. There are a lot of games like, the blowout. Like, your team's getting blown out. That's never fun, right? It's never a good time. You probably turn it off, right? You turn that game off. I think if you were a Royals fan, you probably shut it off in the 8th while Steven Cruz was walking the ballpark. But I'm talking about, like, aesthetically, the kind of game that last night was, and not a blowout in the sense that, the Royals did score 4 in the 9th and turned a 10-3 deficit into something much more respectable. They got the tying run on deck. Credit where it's due. I'm talking about having to watch your pitchers do that. There is no more unpleasant an experience as a sports watcher, in my opinion, than watching a baseball game where your team can't throw a strike. Like, it'd be one thing if the Braves had pounded out. Let me look at the box again. I've got the box score in front of me. Braves had 9 hits last night. And if they'd had 23 hits and no walks, at least you'd be able to say, man, they were dialed in tonight. Man, they threw the kitchen sink and nothing worked. Those guys were seeing it good. Bad night on the mound. But you know what? Any one of those 23, you get to that point, it's kind of bad luck, right? Like, man, couldn't one of those line drives have found a glove and not some grass? Couldn't one of those ground balls not had eyes? You can delude yourself a little bit when you give up that many hits, right? There's no defense for ball 4. Never has been, never will be in the history of the greatest sport there is. There is no defense for ball 4. And the Royals issued 14 walks last night. That to me is worse than watching, like, if it's a basketball game and your team just can't make anything. Like, nothing goes in. Good looks from good shooters just do not go in the basket. Good looks from bad shooters do not go in the basket. Nothing goes in the basket. If you're a K-State fan, you saw more than your fair share of games like that last season. And frankly, there were a couple of those for KU. There's been a couple of those for KU the last couple of years. Those are frustrating games. Those are hard games to watch. In football, where you cannot get off the field. Your defense just can't get off the field. You can't get a stop. It feels like the other team converts third down 100% of the time by exactly 1 yard. Like, you need a stop on 3rd and 7, the other team gets 8. Games like that, endlessly frustrating. But to me, there is no more frustrating an experience, a sports watching experience, than a game like last night where your pitchers cannot throw a strike. That's frustrating if you're coaching 8-year-olds. If you had a team of 8-year-olds walk 14 guys in a game, you'd have trouble looking them in the eye when you were handing out your post-game snack. Give them your Capri Sun and tell them, hey, mix in a strike here and there. It's so frustrating. And for big leaguers to do it. Unbelievable. Text in from the 785 points out that Denny Matthews is in my corner on this. Said it was one of the worst pitch games by both teams that he'd ever seen. The Braves walked 4 and gave up 12 hits. Spencer Strider was not sharp. And the Royals were able to get on him early and take a 2-0 lead. But Rich Hill just could not throw a competitive pitch. In his defense, he's 45. What'd you expect? It was a fun story when he kept the Cubs off balance, but could he do it again? Could he keep doing it? The answer was no, which again, not a surprise. But those are the dire straits the Royals find themselves in, where they had to see if maybe he could. And now they know he can't. Now he's not a Royal anymore. He was not the only Royal who had trouble finding the strike zone last night. Sam Long's miserable year continues. He gave up the home run to, was that Riley who got him? Again, they kind of run together. It was Riley in the 7th. And he walked a pair. Steven Cruz, wheels are coming off a bit for Steven Cruz, who had a stretch of about a month or two there where he was as reliable as anybody in the back of the Royals bullpen. But the wheels are starting to come off. He's not missing bats, and he's also not finding the strike zone of late. ZRA's jumped up to 3.7. He's allowed at least a run in each of his last 3 outings. And the walk rate, which was the big concern for him earlier in his career that kind of kept him from getting a toehold in the big leagues, that's starting to jump up. He's now walked 17 and 41 in the 3rd innings. So they've clearly got to get him right. That's one positive I can give you for the Royals right now. You're grasping for him after a game like last night, but at least the return of Hunter Harvey gives you another late inning option. And I know they're trying to ease Harvey back in. They don't want to give him the high leverage stuff right away, but they can also get to Harvey in the 7th inning of a 2-run game with a lead. And they don't have to give that ball to Cruz right now, who isn't real trustworthy in that spot at the moment and won't be until he finds his command again. He's got to get back on target, throwing strikes. That was gross last night. 14 strikes and 32 pitches for Cruz, who's had a really nice year, but is struggling because that's what happens to young relievers sometimes. And speaking of struggling, I said every reason the Royals are where they are and have disappointed and have missed expectations and are where they're at in the standings. Every one of those reasons, either things that are their fault and things that are beyond their control. Injuries are beyond your control. But MJ Melendez got recalled to the major leagues with a batting average of, I think it was 0.85. And since he was recalled, when Nick Lofton went on the concussion IL, Melendez's batting average has gone down. Do you know how difficult it is to have a batting average starts with a 0 and then it gets worse? And you're a position player? Like, it'd be one thing if you know, back when men were men and we let pitchers hit, you know, a pitcher could spend the whole year with a batting average start with 0. He wouldn't bat an eye. MJ Melendez is now hitting 0.68. 0.68. That is 4 for 59, if you're curious. And 23 strikeouts in those 64 plate appearances. That means you're striking out 36% of the time. It is with great sadness and regret that I offload the rest of my MJ Melendez stock. Knowing now that it is worthless and that I held on to it for too long, it is with great regret and deep sadness that I offload the rest of my MJ Melendez stock. I probably had more than any of you coming into this year. I wanted to believe so bad. It's not happening. Me and our old pal Fulton Castor, I think we were the last ones on the bandwagon. And it just ain't happening. So that was a killer. That was a hard one to watch, and it laid bare kind of the reason why the Royals are where they are in 2025. It doesn't mean the Royals aren't going to make a move between now and the deadline on Thursday. But again, you have to be realistic about 2025 and say it's pretty unlikely that there's a run in this group. But being realistic about 2025 and being realistic about 2026 leads you to different answers. And that's why Seth Lugo got his money. I want to give you an example of a team that did that wrong to show you why I think the Royals got the Lugo situation right. Then we'll hear from Bobby Randall, 2025 inductee into the Kansas Sports Hall of Fame, K-State player, KU coach, 5-year big leaguer. He's got a great story to tell. Michael Swain will join us later. We'll have a training camp report from Mitch Holtis. I promise you, this was a jam-packed show, and we got more of it coming. We're just getting started here on 580 Sports Talk. 3:31 on 580 Sports Talk. We're just getting underway. Bobby Randall going to join us next segment. Be inducted into the Kansas Sports Hall of Fame at the Washburn University Memorial Union on Saturday morning. Tickets still available for the ceremony. It also includes the likes of Larry Brown, Tim Jankovich, Mark Mangino, and others. KSHOF.org to purchase tickets. So we were talking about the Seth Lugo contract extension yesterday. Royals finalized that, or essentially made it official, announced it while we were on the air. 2 years, $46 million in total. It's $20 million a year for the next two. There's a vesting option. There's a club option if the vesting option doesn't hit. It sounds like the vesting option is based on innings pitched. And I don't mind it. I certainly think if the Royals were in full seller mode for 2025, that Seth Lugo was their best bargaining chip to bring something of value back to the farm system. But they decided to keep him in the fold again. And if the Royals intend to contend in 2026, they were going to need a starting pitcher anyway. So why not keep a guy that you trust and you like and who likes being in Kansas City? But the deal felt familiar to me, and it was criticized in some circles of the baseball social media. There was some criticism of the deal. It reminded me a little bit of 2022. You guys know who I root for. I grew up rooting for the Colorado Rockies. They had a veteran pitcher who was very in demand on the trade market. It was their closer, 37-year-old Daniel Bard, who was legitimately awesome in 2022. Yeah, an ERA under 2, striking out over a batter per 9. He was really good. Rockies could have gotten a lot for him at the trade deadline. Instead, he wanted to be in Denver. The Rockies wanted him to be on the team, and they signed him to a contract extension before the deadline. 2-year deal, $19 million, I think it came out to. $9.5 million a year. In 2023, the following year, the first year of the deal, Daniel Bard lost the strike zone, ended up walking more guys than he struck out in 49 and a third innings. Then he got hurt. He didn't pitch on the second year of that contract, and it turned out he never pitched in the major leagues again. The lesson here is twofold. Number one, yes, contract extensions to veteran pitchers are a risk. There are no safe bets when it comes to paying any pitcher. Look at the Diamondbacks and Corbin Burns. They thought they were adding an ace that could get them over the hump in the National League, and his arm blew up halfway through the season. A guy who'd been durable, no longer durable. There are no sure bets. Doesn't mean you don't go pursue pitching because it is the currency of the game, but there are no sure things. The other part of the lesson here that an organization as stupid as the Rockies doesn't learn and has never learned, they were in the middle of losing 94 games in 2022. There was no reason for them to think that they could be competitive the next year. And so there was no reason to think Daniel Bard could help a competitive team, a contending team. In fact, they lost 103 games in 2023, and they've gotten progressively worse since then. So that's why a move like that doesn't make sense when you're far away from contending. That's where being realistic about where you're at matters. Something the Rockies have never been able to do. You can take my word for it. The Royals, though, I think they can look in the mirror and be honest with themselves and say, yeah, we can contend in 2026. We got the best player in the division. We have a bona fide ace when he's healthy in Cole Reagans. We have now a rock solid 1 through 5 in the rotation we feel like we can go to battle with. And in our division, Cleveland and Minnesota are going backward. Chicago's still going nowhere. Why can't it be us in 2026? Now, they still have to make their roster better, but they're not far away. And they're not far enough away to punt on 2026. So that's why you keep Seth Lugo around. That's why ultimately I like it for the Royals. Bobby Randall joins me next. From Gove, Kansas to K-State to the big leagues to a lengthy coaching career and now to the Kansas Sports Hall of Fame. Bobby Randall, my guest next on 580 Sports Talk. The Kansas Sports Hall of Fame will be inducting its 2025 class this Saturday at the Washburn University Memorial Union. The Hall of Fame induction ceremony takes place from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Washburn University Memorial Union. Tickets are available by visiting kshof.org. And one of the inductees this year is a former Kansas State Wildcat All Big 8 baseball player, a former major leaguer, 5 years spent with the Minnesota Twins from 1976 to 1980. And after that, a college baseball coach at Iowa State, the University of Kansas, and Manhattan Christian College, Bobby Randall. And he joins us here on 580 Sports Talk. Bobby, first and foremost, congratulations on the great honor. What was the emotion when you got the phone call that informs you that you had been chosen to be inducted into the Kansas Sports Hall of Fame?
Dan, my first thought was, thank you, Lord. This is a surprise. You know, what a gift he has given me that I never expected. I was completely surprised. Never had occurred to me that I would ever be considered for that. I didn't know that I had really accomplished that much, and pretty humbled by it and pretty thankful.
You were born in Norton, but grew up in Gove, Kansas. Now, I spent a couple of years in my radio career working out in Colby, so I know Northwest Kansas, Western Kansas a little bit. I know Gove City and Gove County. I know where that's at. Many people don't. It's a bit of a speck on the map, but I'd love for you to tell me what it was like growing up in Gove, and particularly playing baseball in that community and coming up as a young baseball player in a small town. What was that like? What was the experience like?
Well, that's interesting. You know, growing up seemed like a great place to be, you know, just a little town of 120 people, 12 in my graduating class. And our baseball was mostly just out in the backyard playing catch. I remember my fondest memory of baseball was when my dad I'd wait on the front step waiting for my dad to come home so we could play catch. And he's the one that instilled the love of the game to me. And then from then on, we didn't play a lot of games. You know what it's like out there. It's just a lot of work. And at high school, I worked and played leisure ball, but, you know, clearly it was good for me. And I loved the game, and I loved playing it, and always have, and I wanted to play as long as I could.
One of the old adages that I'm always fond of is no matter where you come from, if you have the ability, somebody is going to see you play, somebody is going to find you. And that was the case for you. You were drafted out of Gove by the Dodgers in 1966 in the 55th round. The draft only goes 20 rounds anymore. So you were taken in the 55th round in 1966. When was the first time? I'm always curious to ask people who go on to professional careers or high-level college careers in their chosen sport. When was the first time you had an inkling of, hey, I could be pretty good at this. I might be better than my peers. I might have an opportunity to take this beyond my small town and go a long way with the game?
Well, first, I got recruited out of high school, and I never got a recruiting call, but I got some letters, and one of the letters I got was from K-State, wanted me to go there, come and play basketball for Tex Winter and the baseball coach, Bob Brazier. I was going to play two sports. And so that was really exciting to me, just to be able to go to a college and play a sport. And then I never even, I always dreamed, we all dreamed about professional career, how great it would be to play in the major leagues and all of that. But I never thought about being drafted. And I never even knew that was a possibility till I got the call after the draft from John Keenan, the scout for the Dodgers, who said, well, we drafted you, and I'd like to come by your house and talk to you about signing a professional contract. It was like, holy smokes, I never saw this coming.
Bobby Randall is our guest here on 580 Sports Talk, a member of the 2025 Kansas Sports Hall of Fame class being formally inducted this Saturday here in Topeka. You went on to a professional career after your time at Kansas State. You had to wait for your opportunity at K-State. When it came, you made the most of it. And then as a professional, you had to wait for your opportunity. As you were coming up in the Dodgers system, you were behind some guys who would go on to major league careers, and it took a change in organization going to the Minnesota organization for you to have the chance to reach the major leagues at the age of 28. How much perspective did that give you when you later went on to a coaching career? The understanding that not everybody's as good as they're going to be right away, and that the late bloomer sometimes needs that little push and that encouragement to keep plugging away with the talents that they have.
That's an interesting insight you have there. Because it did take me. I got stuck behind two Kansas boys, Billy Russell, from Pittsburgh, and Davey Lopes, who played at Washburn, and they were great players. And I wasn't going anywhere with the Dodgers, and my career was just about done because they weren't hanging on to older players then. And then I got traded to the Twins and just made that team by God's grace out of spring training. But then when I got into college coaching, there were two things. One, I wanted to see kids have a good experience in baseball and get an education at the same time, so that they really had a career. And I had prepared for another career out of baseball, because that's going to happen. You're not going to play that long. And so I'd gotten a master's degree so I could coach in college. And then I wanted kids to have a good experience playing baseball, and college baseball is a great, great place to play. Probably more enjoyable than professional baseball, really. Although I enjoyed professional baseball, but I enjoyed college much more. And the other thing was, people always ask me when we were in the Big 12, well, what gives you a chance against Texas? Because they're getting all the best players out of high school. Well, I always said, the best 18-year-olds aren't always the best 22-year-olds or the 21-year-olds. Kids change. And I saw that all the way through the minor leagues. I saw George Brett when he was signed right out of high school. And I thought, well, yeah, he's okay, but I don't see that he's all that great. Then he ends up being in the Hall of Fame. I mean, that's how people change. And that was another thing that was rewarding in college, to see young men come in as freshmen and see how raw and green they were and how much they had to learn, and then just to watch them develop and become good baseball players, and you go, wow, to develop that talent, that God-given talent that they had.
Who were the coaches that you had when you were coming up in baseball, whether it was when you were younger or in college or through the professional ranks, that maybe inspired your own coaching career, whether it was a style, whether it was how they communicated with players, or whether it was just something that they did that made you think, this is something I want to do when my time playing the game is done?
That's interesting, because my dad told me, why don't you coach? And I said, if there's one thing I'm never going to do is coach. And, growing up, we didn't have coaches that really knew a ton about baseball, but they knew a lot about kids and how to, just provide opportunity for kids to play baseball. They didn't coach us that much, but man, we loved it. We just couldn't get enough of it. And then in college, a little bit better coaching. And then when I got into professional baseball, a guy named Monty Basco, who's from, I think I don't know if he was a Kansas kid or not, but he was a scout. But he was a coach with the Dodgers, and was really taught me a lot about infield play. And then Gene Mock was a manager in Minnesota, and he was such a student of the game. And I just, watching him and how he prepared and how much it meant to him, and it's a fascinating game, Dan. It's a fascinating game, so much to it, that I just fell in love with that and wanting to pass that on to the college kids. And so during my professional career, I was going to school one semester at a time at K-State to get my master's degree, because at that point you needed a master's degree to coach in college. And so I probably was one of the few guys, if not the only guy in Major League Baseball that had a master's degree. But I finished that in 1976. after my first year in the major leagues. And then that was always my goal, is after my career finished, to coach in college.
Couple of more questions for Bobby Randall, member of the 2025 class of the Kansas Sports Hall of Fame, being formally inducted on Saturday morning and afternoon here in Topeka at Washburn University. You had the opportunity to play in the major leagues for 5 seasons, and you intersected with some all-time greats, Hall of Famers, Rod Carew, Tony Oliva, Bert Blyleven in the Hall of Fame today, batting champs, Cy Young Award winners. You were teammates with Mike Marshall, who won a Cy Young and was always a really interesting thinker about pitching and the mechanics of it. What were the things that you saw as the commonalities, and it being just recently Hall of Fame weekend in Major League at the Baseball Hall of Fame made me think about this. What were the commonalities in those guys who were the best of the best, the Carews, the Blylevens, that maybe were also inspiring in how you wanted to not only just prepare yourself in your own playing career, but how you wanted your players when you coached later on to be able to prepare, those kinds of habits that made a great player?
When you see those guys with that kind of talent, but they didn't waste it. You know, we've all seen men who've wasted the talent they've been given. God's gift is the talent that he gives them, and they're gifted back to him. What do you do with it? And the way that they worked, and the way that they studied the game and learned the game, and I guess that's what I wanted to pass on to my kids that I coached, was that you can be to learn the game, to know the game, being able to execute the game and work hard at it and enjoy it. They all enjoyed it. And also, they had, those guys were really, they had some good character qualities too. And I think that's the other thing that it takes to be a Hall of Famer, great player like that, is character. Not perfect people, but they cared about people and weren't just completely selfish men.
Last question for you, Bobby, as we wrap up here. You have the unique perspective of having played at Kansas State University and then later on coached at the University of Kansas. You started your college coaching career at Iowa State, then moved to the University of Kansas, where you were from 1996 to 2002. Having been on both sides of what we've come to know over the years as the Sunflower Showdown rivalry, that's a pretty unique position to be in. But what is your perspective on having been involved on both sides, having been worn the uniform as a player at Kansas State and as a coach at Kansas? What kind of perspective does that give you on, I guess, not just the rivalry, but what those programs and what those schools mean to this state?
Well, I was a fan of KU as a kid. Not against Kansas State. Then when I came to Kansas State, had a great experience. And then, after my playing career, I went to Iowa State. Well, then I became a Cyclone fan. I was no longer a Wildcat fan. I was a Cyclone fan. And then when the opportunity to go to KU, I was really excited about it. And I became a really big KU fan, and still am. And I'm still a K-State fan too. Both of them. I love both those schools. Unfortunately, I lost a few friends at K-State, but I gained a whole bunch more at KU, and I was really thankful that I love coaching at KU. I love the school. I think I was a Kansas kid. It's always been a lot to me to grow up in Kansas. You were out at Colby. I think when you're that far out in the sticks, it
Our thanks again to Bobby Randall for joining us. He'll be inducted into the Kansas Sports Hall of Fame this Saturday. Again, kshof.org for more information on the class of 2025. Every member who's ever been inducted into the Hall of Fame, they've got capsule information, got some great state sports records at the website, and, of course, tickets if you want to purchase tickets to the Hall of Fame ceremony. Our countdown to Chiefs kickoff reaches 38 days. We are 38 days away from the Chiefs and the Chargers kicking things off in Brazil. And number 38 for the Chiefs is a gentleman named Kevin Knowles, who is another undrafted free agent defensive back. I promise we're going to talk about some players who actually play. I promise. Not just yet. Tomorrow, obviously, and the day after, more solemn numbers to get to in Chiefs history. 37 is tomorrow, it's Joe Delaney. 36 is the day after, that's Mac Leahill. After that is Jalen Watson, and then we start getting into the guys you know. But Kevin Knowles, out of Florida State, played slot corner and safety in college. You're telling me a versatile defensive back was appealing to the Chiefs as an undrafted free agent? Surely you jest. Maybe he's this year's Chris Roland Wallace. Who knows? We got a lot more Chiefs to get to in the 4 o'clock hour. We'll hear from Andy Reid and Kingsley Suamataia. We'll recap a very eventful day at Chiefs training camp. We'll also talk Jayhawks with Michael Swain of Fog.net. Jayhawk Weekly coming up. That's in the next hour here on 580 Sports Talk. Let's get it. Hour number 2 of 580 Sports Talk on this Tuesday afternoon. So grateful to be with you on the Sports Voice of Kansas, 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com, and in living color on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk, and our Facebook page, WIBW News. Dan Lucero, Spencer Dupuis with you until 6 o'clock tonight, at which point we will hand things off to the Royals Baseball Network. Game 2 tonight between the Royals and the Braves at Kauffman Stadium. A 6:40 first pitch is scheduled as the Royals look for the get back following their 10-7 loss last night. Seth Lugo, newly paid, goes to the mound tonight for the Royals. He'll take on the newly acquired Eric Fetty, who was just picked up by the Braves in a trade with St. Louis after the Cardinals had designated him for assignment just 6 days ago. He'll be making his Braves debut. Again, 6 o'clock pregame, 6:40 first pitch, and then there's day baseball tomorrow between the Royals and the Braves. 12:30 pregame and a 1:10 first pitch. Royals have not announced a starter for that game. The Braves are going to go with Shawnee Mission East High's own Joey Wentz. He'll get the start, his third as a Brave, his fourth appearance with the team. It's for this season after 19 appearances with the Pirates and 6 out of the bullpen with Minnesota. The 27-year-old Southpaw will pitch adjacent to his home state. He was born in Lawrence, went to Shawnee Mission East, and a former first-round draft pick of the Braves, now back with the organization that initially drafted him, and he'll start against the Royals tomorrow afternoon. We will, of course, be with you on 580 Sports Talk following the conclusion of Royals baseball tomorrow. So there'll be 2 ball games before we get a chance to talk to you again. 6 o'clock pregame for tonight and a 6:40 first pitch. Still to come on 580 Sports Talk, our training camp report with Mitch Holtis. Day 2 of our training camp reports. We'll hear from Mitch, and we'll hear from Patrick Mahomes on today's training camp report. That's coming up at 5:25. We've got some headlines. We got What Is Wrong With You. We got Jayhawk Weekly coming up, bottom of this hour. Michael Swain of Fog.net will join us. We get Michael's perspective on what's going on at camp for the Kansas Jayhawks. Matt Lubick spoke with the media earlier today out there in Lawrence, and we'll see what the Jayhawks have been up to, what Michael's been able to get eyes on as a media member, and get his perspective on the early days of KU football camp, as well as his thoughts on the latest KU basketball news as well. That's coming up bottom of this hour. And plenty of Chiefs talk to start the hour on what was a very eventful day in St. Joseph. Want to hear from you? The text line is open. 785-272-9429 is the number. That's 785-272-9429. You can also interact with us if you are watching on our YouTube stream, the video channel, 580 Sports Talk. There is a live chat for users, viewers, to hop on in and interact with each other and interact with your hosts as we go along the day. Again, the name of the YouTube channel is 580 Sports Talk. Go subscribe to the channel if you have not already. Maybe you'll be today's new subscriber. Maybe we'll have more than one new subscriber today. We're averaging 1 a day, really for about the last 3 weeks, which, hey, you know what? That's pretty good.
We'll take it.
That's pretty good for our humble little YouTube channel. We're not trying to conquer the world here. We're just trying to do a sports talk radio show and get it out to the people. That's all we're trying to do. We're not trying to be, I'm not out here trying to be bigger than First Take. I won't be better than First Take, but I won't be bigger than First Take. We don't have ESPN muscles around here.
We're never going to be bigger than Rich Eisen's show, unfortunately.
There are just
Dan Patrick.
Yeah, Pat McAfee's always going to have bigger YouTube than us. Yeah, and that's fine. I'm not shooting for those numbers. I'm trying to get to 800 so I can beat Brendan in an arm wrestling match that you will then be able to see here on our 580 Sports Talk YouTube channel. 800 is the number I want. Beyond that, we'll think of something for 850.
Yeah, so 800 people also don't know. I guess I'm the commentator for it. I'm the play-by-play.
Yeah, you're gonna have to be. Yeah, you're gonna call the match.
Yeah.
So for the benefit of our radio listeners who might be wondering,
What is going on?
Look,
why is there silence and then random noises?
I listen in my car every day, and don't get to the video. And why is there a bunch of grunting happening over the air right now? So yeah, he'll be the play-by-play man for the wrestling match. That's when we get to 800 YouTube subscribers. So help us get closer today. If you're not subscribed to the YouTube channel, go to youtube.com, 580 Sports Talk, and hit subscribe. And we will look forward to that. Brendan's off today, of course. He'll be back Thursday. He's going to be on the show Thursday. Spencer will be off Thursday, so Brendan will be in. And you're gonna see more of Brendan as we go along here. As we get into August, we get into September. You'll see Brendan more often. I can promise you all that.
He's hustling, that's for sure.
He is. We're all hustling. Everybody's hustling.
Every day we're hustling.
Every day, every single day. Let's talk some football, shall we? Because this was the first day at Chiefs camp where stuff happened. And sometimes stuff happening is good. Sometimes stuff happening is a little scary. The stuff that happened today really ran the gamut. Everything that could actually be a talking point for a sports talk segment happened at camp today. We had injury scares. We had a full-fledged fight. We had a notable position switch and maybe a little drama at an important position. We had all of it in St. Joe today. We'll start with the injuries because 3 Chiefs wide receivers suffered dings at camp today. Xavier Worthy was first on the first pass of the day. He went all out for a deep ball from Mahomes, didn't get to it, and then just kind of bonked his head on the turf. He went checked out in the tent, no concussion. They gave him his helmet back. He was back to practice. Wasn't a big deal. Hollywood Brown came up lame on his right leg, left practice in the front seat of the injury cart. Again, folks, leaving on a cart, not a big deal. Leaving in the front seat of a cart usually just means they don't want you to walk. They'd rather just give you a ride in long, bumpy terrain back to the locker room up there in St. Joe.
The only way it's disturbing is if somebody's laying on the back of the cart and there's something around their leg.
Yes, if it's the back of the cart, not ideal. If it's from the field on the back of the cart, that's even worse. But Hollywood Brown hobbled off the field. Sounds like it was a right ankle injury. Nobody seems to be real concerned about that. We'll hear from Andy Reid. He'll lay all this stuff out a little bit later on. We'll play his post-practice comments. Sky Moore went off later. I guess Sky Moore's had a decent camp. You would hope so. This might be the camp that decides whether or not he has an NFL career after this. So you'd hope he'd perform well at this training camp, but he would go off later, also in the front seat of the cart, said to be a hamstring injury for Sky Moore. So we'll see if that affects his availability at practice moving forward. So those are your injuries. But again, for the most important guys, Worthy and Brown, it feels like bullets dodged and nothing to be real concerned about beyond the fact that Hollywood Brown has an injury history that is a little concerning. This doesn't sound like one to add to the litany of things that have kept him off the field in meaningful action. So we had all that. We had the injuries. Then we had a fight. Josh Simmons and Ashton Gelati, couple of rookies. They're tired of each other. They've been going at it since rookie camp, and it was 100-degree heat index. One thing led to another. Gelati ripped Simmons' helmet off. Simmons threw a punch. It got a little feisty.
I think it's funny is rookie on rookie.
Yeah. Well, again, like I said, those guys have been drilling since rookie camp. They're probably just about as sick of each other as anybody could be. If you'll pull up audio here, we've got some.
You've got it.
Yeah, we've got some comments here from St. Joe talking about Josh Simmons. He's been the talk of camp. We talked about him at great length yesterday, how well he's performed. Today, he was kind of in the news for some other reasons, punching one of his teammates who was still wearing a helmet. Not the smartest thing to do, but again, sometimes your chili runs a little hot. It's camp. It's not a big deal. I like a guy being feisty. I like a guy not backing down. I like a guy intense on July 29th. So Josh Simmons has been the talk of camp. Ian Rappaport was in St. Joe today for the NFL Network, and this is what he had to say. He was on NFL Network earlier today. Here's a piece of that.
maybe the most complete Chiefs team that we have seen since Tyreek Hill was on this squad. But they've made some tweaks and some tinkering to that offensive line to put themselves in good position.
And getting the opportunity to watch Josh Simmons, the first-round left tackle for the Chiefs today, was something. I mean, he is as athletic as they said, and it is so impossibly hard to find these guys. I know because the Chiefs have been trying, right? I mean, they signed Juwan Taylor in free agency. They signed Jalen Moore, and now he might end up playing guard. They drafted Josh Simmons. And for Josh Simmons to be available in the 30s where he was is absolutely crazy. But there is a reason why. He suffered a significant injury, torn patellar tendon. I misstated it last hour. Torn patellar tendon in the middle of his college season. It is a significant injury, and it's not always something that guys recover from.
Right.
So what teams needed to do in the draft is review all the medical reports. He went to combine. He did combine rechecks. The fact that he was already running on a treadmill by the combine recheck was a very, very good sign, but it's a little bit of a projection. The Chiefs and Rick Burkhalter, their head athletic trainer, have one of the best athletic staffs, one of the best training staffs in the NFL. It is a little bit of a gamble. You do all your research and you say, we believe that this excellent player who might be available to us is going to be healthy when we need him to be healthy, but you don't know. He has been healthy. He has been great. And it looks like this is the kind of guy who could be the left tackle for the next 12 years. And that is an unbelievable outcome late in the first round.
So that is Ian Rappaport from earlier today on the NFL Network. More praise for Josh Simmons as he continues to impress at Chiefs camp. That also means that Jalen Moore is probably not going to be the left tackle. What if he's the left guard? Chiefs were moving some personnel around in the 11-on-11 drills, and Jalen Moore got some first-team left guard reps today, swapping out with Kingsley Suamataia. Now, that's an easy thing when you saw it on your social media account of choice earlier today that Jalen Moore started at left guard in the first 11-on-11 period. That was an easy thing to overreact to, right? Oh, Kingsley must be struggling. And they're going to see if Jalen Moore can maybe switch to a position he's never played. This is bad for Kingsley. I don't think it's necessarily bad for Kingsley. What I think this is, number one, this is well known. The Chiefs love to move their guys around in offensive line drills. If you're not an established starter at a position, Andy Heck is going to see how you handle anywhere else on the line. And it could just be that simple here, that the Chiefs are trying to figure out just how versatile Jalen Moore can be. It would be nice if the answer is very, because, again, he's on a 2-year, $15 million a year contract. Suamataia rotated back in after a couple of plays. Wasn't a benching or anything, but interesting to see Moore working in at left guard as the Chiefs try to see, hey, just how versatile is this new member of our offensive line. Let's hear some audio from St. Joe. We'll start with Andy Reid. He didn't speak long today, as is kind of his wont, but did have some clarifying comments on some of the injuries suffered today and more. Here's Andy Reid from earlier today in St. Joe.
Right. Nice warm day today. Listen, our hearts go out to the people in New York, man, for especially the families of people that passed. I mean, it's tragic. And, the people at the league office that had to go through all that. So that's a bad deal, man. And got to try to keep peace somewhere here, right? Too much of this. Other than that, injuries, Jeff Bassa, ankle sprain, Jake Bringenstool, hamstring, Deion Bush, hamstring, Christian Fulton, we talked about, knee, Darius Rush, hamstring, Eric Scott, hamstring, Xavier banged his head, Hollywood, ankle, McDonald, illness, Sky Moore, hamstring. So it's hard work. You're out here in the heat, and it's tough. But the guys battled through. I appreciate the tempo they set and all the energy that they gave. Time's yours.
Coach, we saw a little, kind of a little scrappy thing between Josh and Ashton. I mean, it's camp, it's hot.
Yeah.
These things happen today. That's competitive stuff.
Yeah, you answered it right there. Yeah, competitive spirit, man. It's hot, and you get ornery.
I know you rotate along the offensive line all the time, but with Jalen Moore getting in the mix at left guard, is he a legitimate candidate to be a starter?
Yeah, he's working all three of those spots, and really both guards, so he can do either or. We're just working. We need everybody.
Andy, you mentioned Hollywood. Might you be able to elaborate on that with the ankle? How's he seeing you?
I haven't seen him yet, so but they took him up. So I don't know right now. I don't think it's too bad, but we'll see. See how it goes.
When the weather is like this, does that affect practice in any way for you guys? You have to do something different?
A lot of water breaks. Yeah. Try to keep the liquids in.
We'll get Kingsley here shortly. What are your overall thoughts on him? 7 days worth of practices, 3 in pads.
Yeah, he's done a nice job. I mean, really battled in there. Looks solid. Really like what we see. Yeah.
And what does it say about Jaylen Moore? I mean, the sense that you are, interested in having him play all.
Oh, he's a good football player. We just only have 5 spots, so you got to try to move people around and make sure they can do everything. Yeah.
Does he have something he's better at? Is he better inside, outside? I mean, he's shown a lot.
He's only played outside. Yeah. I'd say he's better outside, but he's only played outside.
With the wide receiver room big as Judson is, who do you see kind of step up and kind of take that leadership role?
Yeah, Juju's the leader in there.
Okay.
All right, good. Thank you.
Thanks, Coach.
Very short answer to that question. I'm sure that reporter was ready for a soliloquy about the wide receiver room and who the leader is. Nice, Juju Smith-Schuster.
That's wild to say.
And it's why he's there.
Yeah.
I mean, he has so much respect in that locker room, and it's why the Chiefs value him beyond what he can still do on the field, which is not what he could do in his prime as a player and as an athlete. But yeah, what he brings to that room, very clearly, he's still very important to the Chiefs. You also heard some thoughts in there on Kingsley Suamataia. He spoke to the media earlier today, talking about what he's been going through in his first camp as a full-time left guard. Here's the Chiefs offensive lineman.
Take us through what that was today.
Man, we just having fun out there. Out here grinding, in this hot weather, but we're all just trying to get better, 1% better every day. Defense and offense, we're fighting back and forth every day. So just trying to improve and get each other better.
How's the position switch going for you so far?
It's going good. Taking that work, coming in at guard, things are a lot faster. So just taking, my mind from out here to in here and working it from in there and getting the work from Trey and the inside guys. So it's been good.
I'm sure you're annoying Trey at this point.
A lot.
It is at the point.
A lot. I'm right behind him. Hey Trey. So I'm over there in his ear every day, every second, just trying to get myself better my craft so I can help this team.
You mentioned bettering your prep. When you compare how you entered this camp to last season, what is the biggest difference?
Man, just coming in shape, man. I was in shape last year, but just coming in shape, ready to roll, because they can throw me back at tackle, back at guard, but just being ready wherever the team needs me to play, and be able to do that 110%. So, yeah.
During the live periods, how helpful is it to be between the caliber of player like Simmons and Humphrey?
Sorry, what was that?
How helpful is it to be between Simmons and Humphrey when you're in the live periods?
Man, it's great. Josh is he's doing a great job as a rookie, being able to come out there and compete and put his best foot forward every day. I know he's trying to learn the playbook as well, and we're just all trying to help each other out so we can all be on the same page.
Benefit. I don't know if we actually. What was the benefit of Kingsley playing guard position in Week 18 last year, and how much that can help you decide how to get better for this particular season?
Sorry, I didn't hear the first one.
What did you feel like was the biggest benefit for you to play guard in Week 18 in Denver last year?
Man, it was good. Just Coach A just wanted to throw me in there and see what I could do. It's great being able to be physical off the ball, being that man-to-man contact right off the ball. So, just working at it every day. Like I said, you see Trey, best guard, and I got the best center next to me. So I'm trying to be up there with those guys and keep up with them.
Have you ever played guard growing up, or were you always exclusively outside?
No, sir. Yeah, I only play tackle the whole year.
So Josh is a rookie. His head's probably spinning a little bit. What are your thoughts of what you've seen from him? And you can help him a little bit because you went through it last year.
No, yeah, most definitely. Like Joe Tooney was for me, that's how I'm going to be for him. Just being able to be on top of my plays so I can be able to help the guy next to me to my left and right.
Got a little heated out there. He and Ashton kind of got after it a little bit. I mean, it's about that time of camp. You guys are getting that way a little bit, I guess.
Man, we're just out there competing, having fun. Off the field, we're all loving brothers. But once we're on here, we're trying to knock each other's head off. So it's all love.
Well, it's been a couple days since you guys have put on the pads. How does that kind of affect how, the O-line and the D-line in practice? What's that do for you guys?
Man, we're just out there just banging heads, man. We're just trying to – it all starts with a line up front. So we're all trying to get each other better. And we all know that if the O-line and D-line do good, then the rest of the backfield and the backfield of offense and defense can make their plays.
Jalen was subbing in right after you at left guard. Just what do you think about the competition there, or potentially competing against other guys?
Most definitely, man. We love to compete across the board, whether I'm at right guard, right tackle, or back at left guard. So we're all just out here trying to compete and put our best foot forward. And whoever's going to be there for that job, that's what we'll be happy.
Thanks.
That was Kingsley Suamataia speaking after practice in St. Joe earlier today. I love his attitude. I love the comment he had in there. He says, "Look, I'm next to the best center and the best right guard in football, so I got to get on their level." I love that attitude. I still think there's a good football player there.
Yeah.
The Chiefs are certainly excited about him. I think like the measurables, the attitude, that was the big thing that I really liked about him as a prospect was his physicality as a player. They talked about his physicality. They play with a bit of an edge. They play with a nastiness. I think that's almost going to suit him better at guard than maybe it did at tackle. I don't know why that is. Like, the offensive linemen, they're always in the dirt. They're always being nasty. But I associate nastiness with guards because you're really in the trenches. You're really doing the hand fighting. And I think those traits are going to serve Kingsley really well as he tries to stake claim to that left guard spot. Right now, I mean, that feels like the spot where you have a question mark, but it's not really a question mark because then Kingsley's ahead of the game at left guard, having worked all camp there and worked some of the end of last year. Like, he is the presumptive favorite to win that job. But left tackle kind of feels spoken for right now. And going into this camp, if you're the Chiefs, you're looking at your offensive line and say, man, how's that left side going to come together? We're only a week into camp, but it's starting to feel like, well, all right, we got left tackle figured out. Maybe for a while, but we definitely have left tackle figured out. And you have at least that sense of security and feeling like, all right, we found the guy. And yes, there are going to be bumps in the road and ups and downs. Every rookie goes through it, but you found the guy that you're willing to live with those bumps and those ups and downs with, where last year, clearly they weren't. Clearly they weren't, because at the first sign of trouble, Kingsley was out of there.
Yeah.
At left tackle. So I don't think that's going to happen. Like, week 2 against the Eagles, like that's no joke. Week 1 against the Chargers, they've got good pass rushers. If Josh Simmons struggles early, I don't think they're going to yank the cord on Josh Simmons and go back to the oak for Wanye Morris. I think, or Jalen Moore, I guess, this year. I think they're going to be a little more committed and feel a lot better about where they're at left tackle. We'll take a time out here at 580 Sports Talk, come back, and crown our last weekly champion for the month of July on What Is Wrong With You next. What is wrong with you on 580 Sports Talk is brought to you by our guy, Mo, State Farm Agent Ryan, Mo Winkle. Give him a call today, 785-273-1572. It's a short week of What is Wrong with You. Tomorrow, we've got the semifinals for July. And then Thursday, which is the final day of the month of July, we will crown our 7th monthly champion of the year, our July What is Wrong with You winner, who will advance to December's Tournament of Fail Champions. 2 new stories today. Our current winner, it's a bit of a cumbersome title, but I really like it. Drive for show, putt for dough, assault if slow.
That's actually a good one.
Guy beat up another golfer on a golf course because he was playing too slow in front of him. Displayed poor golf etiquette. So the response was even worse, like human being etiquette, and just beat the hell out of the guy. And is facing battery charges. 2 new stories today. Spencer, I'll let you go first.
All right. We are going to go to Florida. As Sunday morning, the guy was driving. And then somebody, I was trying to summarize it because nobody knows these roads here. Basically, we had a good old point a gun out road rage.
Get some road rage.
Yes, it was around 10:30 on Sunday morning when the Monroe County Sheriff's Office received reports of a driver later identified as Stefano Napolitano engaged in road rage. Scary, yes, but not unheard of. Things get worse. According to a statement by MCSO, the adult male victim reported that the subject identified as Nolapano displayed a gun during a road rage incident. It didn't take long after that for the police to catch up with him. They arrested him, he admitted to waving the gun around during the road rage incident. Remember to keep your cool on the road, folks. He didn't. He's facing some serious consequences, according to the statement from MCSO. Police charged him with aggravated assault, even though the incident didn't result in any injuries. The Florida man threatened another motorist with a deadly weapon. And Florida police said aggravated assault charge to you. So that's it. He's getting an aggravated assault charge for just getting mad on the road and saying, I got a weapon.
Escalation, unnecessary escalation. I'm sure there was no need to get the gun out at that point. My story today, we have more drama at a Chuck E. Cheese. This one.
Wait, what? You're telling me that drama happens at Chuck E. Cheese?
Where a kid can be a kid, and also apparently a kid can get sucker punched. We go to Mobile, Alabama, where a birthday party went wild on Saturday afternoon. An altercation broke out at a Chuck E. Cheese. One witness alleged literally a man hit women and kids. There's a little girl in there right now who got hit in the face. That little girl told News 5 in Mobile she was just walking by, and she took a stray fist. They punched me in the eye right here, she said. I don't know if it was on purpose or on accident. Witnesses say around 20 people were involved. It's a Pier 6 brawl at the Chuck E. Cheese. One person tells News 5 it all started because someone got frustrated. He just got upset about something, the witness said. It was like a teenage boy. Police are investigating the fight. Mobile Police Department Public Information Officer Roderick Miles says, quote, there's 3 sides to every story, yours, mine, and the actual truth. So they got theirs, they got mine. Now they just need to find the truth and see who's going to be facing criminal charges. Miles goes on to say, conflict resolution is always a good thing if you have an altercation with someone. If you have an altercation with someone, especially at a business, try to separate yourself. And if you feel like you can't separate yourself, involve the employees. Have them call 911 on your behalf while you try to get out of the location. Or while you try to do something that's going to result in better decisions than fighting at a freaking Chuck E. Cheese. End quote. Let that be a lesson for all of us.
Yeah.
That wins today. Chuck E. Cheese brawl. Does that beat the guy who beat up a golfer for playing slow?
I don't think so.
I think because we have a motive.
Yeah.
For the golfer story, we're going to stick with that. Also, because we already have a Chuck E. Cheese story that might be the favorite for the month.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we'll diversify the semifinals a bit with our golf story. Drive for show, putt for dough, assault if slow. That is our winner for this short week on What is Wrong with You. It advances to the semifinal round, which we will hold tomorrow, all leading up to the July championship of What is Wrong with You coming up on Thursday. And What is Wrong with You is brought to you, as always, by State Farm Agent Ryan Mo Winkle. Check out his website, Ryan Mo Winkle, MOHWINKLE Fog.com. We'll take a timeout. When we come back, Michael Swain of Fog.net joins us for Jayhawk Weekly on 580 Sports Talk. We are joined on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits Hotline by Michael Swain of Fog.net, part of the 24/7 Sports Network. Michael joins us every Tuesday here on 580 Sports Talk for a little thing we like to call Jayhawk Weekly. Now's a great time, of course, to be a VIP subscriber over at 24/7 Sports with football right around the corner, basketball recruiting always going on. Great inside info from Michael and the gang at Fog.net. Michael, KU football camp in full swing. Matt Lubick spoke to the media earlier today. Obviously, a great story, inspirational story, fighting through the health battles that he has had, returning this year to the Kansas staff. What is the element that he will bring to that offense and to the collaboration with Jim Zebrowski that you are most interested to see this year in practice for the Jayhawks?
Yeah, I think I'm not sure if anyone's had a larger impact without as much publicity as Matt Lubick, obviously. He joined the staff before the 2022 season, and he was a big reason why KU came out and started to do some of the QB option and QB run game. That's not stuff that Andy Koldenecki or Lance Leipold did at Buffalo. And that was something that Lubick brought. And obviously it took college football by storm early in the 2022 season. And it's something that KU even used in the 2023. You didn't see as much last year. There was some option game, but a lot of that was already kind of previously installed by Lubick. And so, for me this fall, I'm really interested to see what kind of wrinkles they come up with, because, Zebrowski has complimented Lubick, and Lubick has complimented Zebrowski for kind of their creativity and how they go about scheming up an offense. And I'm just very interested to see what the wrinkles look like this year. How much is going to be new when KU goes and takes on Missouri? I don't think you're going to see KU running a lot of new stuff against a Fresno State or against a Wagner. I think kind of, week 2 against Missouri, game number 3, is the time that we're going to see. So I think that for me is just the most interesting part about this offense, because, there's so many new players, and that gives coaches opportunities to do new things, right? You're not working with the same players that you were already trying to maximize, and maybe you created schemes to maximize them. Well, it's a new group, and there are different ways that those players can be used and have success. So I think for me, that's the part of the offense I'm the most interested in seeing this fall.
Let's talk about that tight end group. It's of some particular local interest here because Deshaun Hanukkah, of course, is a Topeka Hayden product, and Leighton Cure out of Goodland, and Bowden Gruen, the transfer in from Rice. So it's an entirely new group. I mean, Cure was around last year but didn't play a ton, and Hanukkah's around last year but got hurt in camp, and we never got to see him on the field. So it's guys who maybe know the offense a little bit, but we haven't seen a lot of production out of this group of tight ends. KU's gotten good production from tight ends in recent years. What do you like about this group, and how do you think maybe, I don't know that target share is the right way to put it, but how do you kind of see the depth chart at that spot materializing at this stage before the season starts?
Yeah, I think Deshaun Hanukkah will start. I think that's become pretty clear being around him at practice. You know, he is a vocal leader for that room, and it's going to be just like the offense. Like, there's so much fun stuff that you can track this year, and it's why I'm so fired up for this season. You know, I think Hanukkah is going to be your tight end one, right? He's going to be the leader of the group, the guy that I think ends up with most targets, most snaps played. From there, it kind of gets into your situational players, right? Leighton Cure last year was used mostly as a blocking tight end. I know he has worked to try and get better on the receiving aspect of the game, but, you know, we'll have to see what he's able to offer in that regard this fall. Like you mentioned, you know, Bowden Gruen is someone that offers the pass catching threat. You know, he was a prolific pass catcher at Rice 2 seasons ago. Last year, tears his labrum in his shoulder and misses most of the season. And I think he's someone that can really offer some of the receiving threat, maybe a little bit like a Trevor Cardell was used, where, you know, you weren't really expecting Cardell to be a guy that was going to go out and pancake defensive ends, but man, you get him out in the open field and he can run nice routes and give you some receiving threat. So that's kind of the top 3 that I think you're going to see a lot of. And then Carson Brune is one that I think for the future is going to be worth watching. He's really come along. He's a redshirt freshman, but he's taken some really good steps forward. And so, again, maybe the 4th tight end this year, maybe he'll get some spot reps, but I think he's someone that you look in the long term, he'll have a bright future ahead of him. But, you know, for this fall, I really think it's going to be kind of a Deshaun Hanukkah number 1, and then depending on the package and or situation, you know, that's when you're going to see some of the other guys like a Leighton Cure or Bowden Gruen come in.
Michael Swain of Fog.net is our guest, joining us on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline. This is Jayhawk Weekly on 580 Sports Talk. DK McDonald, the new defensive coordinator, spoke on Saturday. What were your impressions of getting to hear him talk and address the media and talk about his vision for the defense for the first time in this camp?
Yeah, it's a lot of stuff you heard, you know, during the spring, and who wants the defense, what I think it's saying. It's fast, physical, and for each other. You know, and I think for KU, one of the biggest things they're really harping on is getting hats to the football. You saw it a little bit early in the season last year. I think the Illinois game definitely comes to mind when KU did a really good job of getting multiple players to the football at the end of a play. And that's something where it takes effort and it takes a lot of intensity. But man, it really does make an impact. And I think it's one of the big reasons why Iowa State has consistently had a great defense. They do such a great job of getting several players to the football. So, okay, if one guy misses a tackle, it's not the end of the world and someone's not breaking free for an extra 15, 20 yards. There's 1, 2, 3 other players coming to back them up. And I think KU athletically on defense should be able to do that much better than I think maybe the unit has been able to do in recent years. So I think I'm really interested to see how DK runs the defense. I wrote a little bit about kind of my thoughts on what he's going to do. I'm very interested to see what sort of tweaks he ends up using. Obviously, he comes from a 3-3-5 background. He's done 4-2-5. Like he's got a very diverse background in his coaching career. So very interested to see what the defense looks like. But I think, you know, ideologically, that's the right way to say it.
Yeah,
it's going to be a 4-2-5. Yeah, 4-2-5 look. And then I think the tweaks off that are going to be really interesting because it's going to be a first-time play caller, a defensive coordinator. You know, that's a really interesting development for Kate.
You've had a chance with the rest of the media to see some open portions of practice. Obviously, that means you don't get to see everything, but you do get a chance to see these guys in action. Is there somebody that maybe over the course of some of the open periods that you've had a chance to see that has left an impression as such that maybe you didn't think or expect that they would make the kind of impression that they made on you just as an observer? Maybe a guy or two that's really kind of popped for you in the open practice periods.
Well, Daniel Highshaw's gotten a lot of praise from Lance Leipold, and man, you see him in practice, and he's always been a physical guy, but he's just so much leaner right now, and it's one of the kind of like the saying, right? His muscles have muscles. Like he's in great shape, and I'm really excited to see what he can do this fall if he can stay healthy. Newcomer Bryson Cansey coming in from Columbia, he's a wide receiver. Man, I think you watch the wide receivers go through routes, and he is someone that just stands out. He's tall, he's physical, and I really like the production he had at Columbia, and I think that's going to be a huge thing for KU. This fall, being able to have someone like him, right, that's got the production, that's played a lot of college football, that knows what it takes to be ready week in and week out. I think he's going to have a big role to play for KU, and obviously that wide receiver room is going to be a very interesting unit to watch just because there's so many new faces and guys that can do different things. Defensively, there are probably so many guys. Justice Finkley as a leader has really stepped up. When he left Texas, everyone had great things to say about him. And you see why. He stepped in 7 months, has established himself as one of the top leaders on defense. He's going to play strong side defensive end for KU. I think he's going to have a big role to play this fall. The linebackers, I know we've talked plenty about those guys over the course of the summer and even going back to the spring, right? They really catch your attention. The way they run around, they look a lot different than I think the linebackers KU rolled out last season or even the seasons before that. So those are just some off the top of my head. But I think like physically off the hoof, this is a good looking team. It's just going to be a question of, hey, how do these pieces come together, and can the guys who need to step up, can they do it? And that's what's going to make this fall so interesting, is that that I think some of the on paper talent is there. It's just going to be fun to watch and see how this unit and group comes together.
You mentioned Finkley as being one of the leaders in the clubhouse to start there at the strong side defensive end, opposite naturally Dean Miller, who was second team all conference last year. Is that a complementary kind of bookend where we maybe don't see as much attention paid? Dean Miller's not maybe going to have to deal with some double teams or some chips, where maybe Finkley's going to have to deal with some of those on the other end. Is this maybe on paper, with the question I'm driving at here, as good a pass rush bookend as KU has gone into a season with in a little bit?
Maybe. I think Justice reminds me a little bit of Kyron Johnson. More physical than Kyron was, but still 6'2", okay length, but a guy that just you watch him come off the ball and he's got a lot of power and he's got some speed. So yeah, I think you're talking third down. I think you feel pretty good about having Finkley and Miller as your two defensive ends. Now my question is, can you get to third and long if your guys can't stop the run or hold the gap? So that for me is going to be the thing I'll be watching for as KU goes to play Missouri specifically, right? When you play those top tier physical teams, how does that bookend duo, how do they do, right? I feel good about them on pass rush downs, but again, physically, can they hold their own? And that's where I think someone like Alex Bray comes in and can be a really good rotational piece for KU as strong side defensive end. He's a guy 6'4", 260, 265, played as a D end in a 3-man front at Illinois. I think he fits that role too. So KU's going to have some different pieces to plug in. But yeah, I think if you're talking about a third and long, I think you feel pretty good about what KU has at defensive end with Finkley and Miller.
Couple more questions for Michael Swain of Fog.net, joining us for Jayhawk Weekly here on 580 Sports Talk. G. Ngala is the newest member of the Kansas men's basketball program. It does appear that he goes by G. At least he did in a couple of YouTube videos I sought out when I was trying to find the pronunciation. And thank goodness for that, because G is much easier to pronounce than it appears his first name is. But G. Ngala, is it too simplistic to say this is kind of a Canadian Diggy Coit, or is that the kind of addition that KU is getting here?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, you can call him that. I think it's going to be an addition that. So you think back to last year, right? And when KU added Diggy Coit, it was probably a week from this weekend that they added him. And the thought was that Diggy was going to be like your 10th man. And obviously, Shaquille Moore couldn't stay healthy, and KU just lacked any sort of shooting. And they needed Diggy to step up. I think this is going to be a very similar type of addition. You're probably marking him to be kind of your 10th man. Hey, Darren is in foul trouble. El Marco's struggling. Can you go out there and give us 10 minutes and maybe provide some shooting? From what I've heard, expected to be a great locker room guy, a guy who other teammates really enjoyed while he's playing up in Canada. And yeah, we'll have to see. Like, for all we know, he could show up to campus and light it up, and all of a sudden you're talking about someone that's getting a little bit more run in the rotation. But I think from a starting off point, I'm not expecting him to be a guy that is a huge impact player for KU. But look, this is the type of addition that I think can help, equally kind of raise your floor and raise your ceiling. Because all of a sudden, if he shows up and, he's shooting at 40% from three, well, you can find a role for a guy like that, even if it is just 5 to 10 minutes. Go out there, take a couple threes, stretch the floor, give you something there. And then if he can spell Peterson for a little bit, you feel even better about it. So additions like this, right, it's a no-lose situation. Worst case scenario, good locker room guy, helps you out in practice, maybe gives you some different looks in practice. Best case scenario, hey, you've got a guy that can give you some minutes, stretch the floor, back up Darren Peterson. Again, is in addition, it's hard to poke holes in this and say, KU shouldn't have done it or KU should have done something else.
Michael Swain covers the Kansas Jayhawks at Fog.net, part of the 24/7 Sports Network. Become a VIP subscriber today. No time like the present to get all of your VIP info from the folks at 24/7 Sports. Michael joins us every Tuesday for Jayhawk Weekly. Michael, always a pleasure. We'll do it again next week.
Awesome. Sounds great. Talk to you guys next week.
That is Michael Swain. We will step aside for a break. When we come back, we will wrap up this hour of 580 Sports Talk. We've got a little time for a short random question Tuesday, so let's squeeze one in here as we wrap up the 4 o'clock hour on 580 Sports Talk. Spencer, what's a household chore you actually enjoy? Or don't hate, if that's easier to say.
I guess I enjoy unloading the dishwasher.
Okay.
Because I'm kind of like, I need to know where everything is.
Yes.
So, like, me being the one to do it is like, when I go to grab it the next time, I'm going to know this is where it is because this is where I put it.
I respect that. I like watering the flowers. We have a little flower garden in front of our house, a couple of hanging baskets. We got some hanging baskets, some flower pots in the backyard. And I like doing that every day. I like that it is a simple thing to do. It is a quiet thing to do. It is a rewarding thing to do when you see the flowers flourish and bloom. It has been less rewarding this year, unfortunately, because of roving packs of rabbits that have eaten into like half of my flower garden. I'm so mad.
Jeez.
Like, these rabbits better hope I do not see them behind the wheel of my car. That's really grim. But
yeah,
like I'm not going to swerve into them, but I'm not hitting the brakes.
Yeah.
Either. You ruined my flower bed. You gotta pay for that. But also, the other part of it is that I like to, I love my wife and I would give her flowers every day if I could, but I can't. So I try to make nice flowers in the front and backyard. Anyway, do you have a quick random question?
Yeah, what's a movie that it seems like the consensus across the country is split that you really liked? Because I really liked Happy Gilmore too, but the more I see, the consensus is very split.
Yeah, like I think there were a lot of people who felt like Semi-Pro was not Will Ferrell's best work, and that's one of my favorite movies. I love that stupid movie. I acknowledge that it's not like cinema, but that was one of my favorite Will Ferrell comedies. So that would be the one for me. Coming up at the 5 o'clock hour, headlines, Mitch Holthus. We'll talk some base. That's all coming up. 580 Sports Talk. Let's get it. Hour number 3 of 580 Sports Talk on this Tuesday afternoon. We got one more hour to hang out with you. Let's make it count on the Sports Voice of Kansas. 580 WIBW FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com, and in living color on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk, and our Facebook page, WIBW News. I'm Dan Lucero. Spencer Dupuis is across the glass. Man, it's a hot one. Like 7 inches from the midday sun.
Yeah.
It is a scalder outside. Hydrate, folks. Make sure you get plenty of fluids. We're getting our fluids in here. Trust us. It is that kind of day, and it's been that kind of week. And I know we were supposed to get some relief in the form of rain. Doesn't look like that's happening tomorrow. I think they've changed forecast. Maybe push those expectations back a little bit. I don't know. But, yeah, it'll cool off toward the end of the week. But, man, it has been quite the heat these last couple of days. So, yeah, folks, if you're outside for whatever reason, yeah, make sure you're drinking plenty of water. It's good to drink water anyway. I don't remember when it was exactly that, like, there was the tipping point in American society that we all decided, hey, we should all be drinking more water. We should all be carrying an obnoxiously large water bottle with us everywhere we go. We should, like, right now it's those Stanley Cups, right? That's what's hot. Yeah, everybody got the Stanley Cups now. Before that, now back in my day, they're called the Nalgene's. You remember those? These clear plastic bottles. They were durable. You could drop them. They wouldn't break. The Nalgene's. That was like a status symbol. You put like the sticker of your frat house or your favorite team or whatever. You'd sticker up your Nalgene bottle and you'd make sure you had it filled when you rolled into class or you're walking around campus or whatever. That was what was cool. They were clear. They were kind of fat. They didn't have a handle or anything. But yeah, sometimes it is very of this century, I feel like. Yeah. I don't remember as a kid, like my parents walking around with like, we didn't buy bottled water. You know, you drank from the tap, but like it just wasn't a thing like it's a thing now.
So I grew up with bottled water, and I haven't bought bottled water in years. I don't buy bottled water. I just use filtered water.
You know, we have a water filter that we use, a pitcher, like one of those Brita pitchers, and we use that. We use that. It was really vital when we were doing bottles and formula with Asher. To have that filtered water. But we also sometimes it's nice just to have a water bottle on deck. Something you can grab that's cold and you just take it with you. Like for a lot of times the water bottle is like that. I'm taking that on the road.
Yeah.
So, I see it both ways. We have both ways.
When I was in high school, the big one was you literally would just bring around a Gatorade bottle. Like the reusable Gatorade bottles.
Oh, like the green ones?
Green ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a thing.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Everybody's got the water bottle. I got this tumbler from the Big 12 basketball media days earlier this year, and this is what I drink water out of while I do the show. It came back with me from Big 12 media days, and I put it in my office, and it's just kind of been there.
See, I got the old green Yeti.
Oh yes, the Yeti. Yeah, the Yeti stuff.
The Yeti was big when I was in college.
I have a Yeti cooler.
Like an actual Yeti cooler?
Yeah.
That's sick.
Yeah. I got it. I think I won it in a raffle.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I got a Yeti cooler. It's not real big, but yeah, it's a nice piece of equipment. Anyway, we say all that to say, drink your water, drink your fluids, stay hydrated, and we're doing it and hopefully modeling good behavior for all of you on the video stream here on 580 Sports Talk. Want to hear from you throughout this final hour of the show. Hit us up on the text line, 785-272-9429. When did you notice people walking around with water bottles? When was that a phenomenon that you noticed? Text us, 785-272-9429. Hit us in the YouTube comments as well if you are watching on YouTube. Again, the name of the channel is 580 Sports Talk. Hit that subscribe button over there on our YouTube channel. Check out the show and interact with your fellow listeners and viewers throughout the program. Coming up in about 15 minutes, Mitch Holtis joins us for Training Camp Report Numero Dos, presented, of course, by Hy-Vee and Azura Credit Union. We'll hear from Patrick Mahomes and get some thoughts on a player that we swore we would never take him for granted And I don't think Chiefs fans necessarily are taking him for granted, but I think the broader football watching and viewing public is starting to take number 15 for granted a little bit. And I think, personally, we'll get Mitch's perspective. I think he is going to make a lot of people who are doing that feel very, very silly in 2025. So we will get Mitch Holtis's thoughts, our training camp reports coming up in about, again, 15 minutes or so. Also get you a preview tonight's Royals-Braves contest, game 2 of 3 at Kauffman Stadium. And something I want to talk about, the K sounded like it was in Gwinnett County, Georgia last night. What? What was that about? Royals fans, where you at? Protect your turf. What was going on last night? Very loud visiting contingent last night. So I have some thoughts on that as well. We're going to start, though, this final hour with our 580 Sports Talk headlines. And yes, we are aware of the big national news story of the day. Talking, of course, about the gunman who killed 4 people at a Manhattan office building on Park Avenue yesterday evening, and claimed in a note left behind that he was targeting NFL headquarters, claiming to have suffered from CTE at some point. We're not going to include that in our headlines because we don't have a lot to add. There's just not a lot to add to that story beyond our thoughts and our prayers for the victims, for everybody involved, for everybody who had to deal with the terror of the day, and everybody who has been certainly traumatized by the terror of the day. But there's just not a whole lot to add to that story outside of that, other than those thoughts and prayers for everybody involved, particularly the families of the 5 who died. So let's do some headlines that we can have some commentary about. And let's do the local stuff first. Let's do the hyper-local stuff first. Let's start with the K-State men's basketball non-conference schedule. No easy pivot from the story out of Manhattan, obviously, but pivot we must and pivot we shall. K-State, late yesterday, announcing their non-conference men's basketball schedule for 2025. Primarily home games, only 2 true road games on the non-conference roster. The season will begin effectively with a couple of exhibition games. They'll play one in Columbia at Mizzou. They'll also play a home exhibition, their first time on the Bramlage Coliseum floor, October 31st. They'll play against the Newman Jets from the MIAA. Season opener for the Tang Gang, Tuesday, November 4th at home against UNC Greensboro. It will be their first ever meeting against UNC Greensboro in program history. Saturday, November 8th, a home affair against Bellarmine. On Thursday, November 13th, it's the conclusion of the home and home series with Cal, which I had forgotten existed. Remember, K-State played Cal in Tang's first season on the road, a game that K-State won late on some, I think it was some Marquise Noel heroics. Thursday, November 13th, K-State hosts Cal. Monday, November 17th, K-State taking on Tulsa in a regular season affair. Then it's the Hall of Fame Classic is what it's called, in Kansas City, Thursday and Friday, November 20th and 21st. K-State will play Mississippi State in the first round and then play either Nebraska or New Mexico in their second game, those games at the T-Mobile Center. The Tuesday of Thanksgiving week, no overseas or big multi-team event for K-State this year, but they will go on the road the week of Thanksgiving and play at Indiana in Bloomington. It's a great setting for college basketball, Assembly Hall. If you're a K-State basketball fan with the means to go see your team on the road, that is a venue to go see them in if you can manage it. At IU, Tuesday, November 25th. Back home after the holiday, Monday, December 1st, home game against Bowling Green, be their first ever meeting with the Falcons. Then a Saturday home contest against a Big East foe as the Seton Hall Pirates come to Bramlage. Quick turnaround before a Monday game against Mississippi Valley State. A Saturday road game at Creighton. Love regionally appropriate home and road games. I love that K-State's playing Creighton. I love that it's in Omaha. It's a true road game, a true test for K-State late in the non-conference, and another trip that K-State fans can maybe more easily make than the one out to Bloomington. The non-conference schedule will conclude Saturday, December 20th with a home game against South Dakota in Manhattan, and then Sunday, December 28th, first ever meeting between the Wildcats and the Warhawks of ULM, Louisiana Monroe. It isn't imposing. There's not a lot of must-see opponents coming to Bramlage Coliseum. I'm not going to lie to you. I mean, they play Cal and Seton Hall, and those are both from, the Power 5 basketball leagues. And Tulsa is, again, regionally appropriate. I'm sure there will be a decent contingent of Tulsa fans who maybe make that trip up to Bramlage. But, it's not a great home schedule, but it's an appropriate home schedule because what we have learned, I think, from the NCAA's selection process for the NCAA tournament is they are not going to penalize you for winning against a bad team in non-conference, but they will penalize you for losing to anybody in non-conference. So there's even less incentive if you are a program that lives on the fringe of the NCAA tournament, which is where K-State is presently. There is even less incentive than there's ever been to schedule arduously in non-conference play. So this is the kind of schedule you get. There's two tough road games. The Hall of Fame Classic will provide a couple of quality opponents, but as for the Bramlage Coliseum portion of the schedule, it's not the most impressive we've ever seen. Next headline, Spencer, it's watch list season.
Yes, it is. It began yesterday as the Maxwell Award watch list came out yesterday. And K-State's got two representatives on the preseason watch list, Avery Johnson and Dylan Edwards. Wouldn't expect any less. Obviously, a lot anticipated from those two coming up this season. KU's Bryce Foster and K-State's Sam Hecht make the Outland Trophy watch list as well.
Both starting centers. Sounds like Bryce Foster, recovering from that offseason cleanup surgery, is going to be good to go for week one. At least that's the hope. That's the idea. And hopefully that is indeed the case. Sam Hecht really solidified himself. And at times, I think was K-State's best offensive lineman last year at the center spot. And both of them are on the Outland Trophy watch list. That goes, of course, to the best interior lineman.
There's also
in the United States. So guards and centers eligible for that.
Yeah, there's also one other one on here that we forgot to put on the list. The Bronco Nagurski Trophy watch list, the Defensive Player of the Year award in the NCAA, has Austin Romaine on it.
Very well deserved
Yes.
there. Romaine obviously was terrific last year and enters this season as one of the very best linebackers. I think in the country, not just in the Big 12. So well deserved for Austin Romaine. Next headline is a sad one from the world of professional baseball. Hall of Fame second baseman Ryan Sandberg passed away last night at the age of 65. He'd been battling metastatic prostate cancer and succumbed to the illness yesterday and died at the age of 65. There had been very public updates where, unfortunately, kind of knew that this was coming, that this was very likely to happen very soon. He was acknowledged at the Hall of Fame induction ceremony on Sunday in a way that I think was a very intentional tribute to someone who everybody understood was probably not going to make it to the next induction weekend there in Cooperstown. Ryan Sandberg, one of the all-time great second basemen in Major League Baseball history, still holds the record, 282 home runs, the most ever by a second baseman. The 1984 National League MVP, a 10-time All-Star and 9-time Gold Glover. Also collected 7 Silver Sluggers in his career. Led the Cubs to the playoffs in 1984 and 1989, the former year snapping a 39-year postseason drought on the north side of Chicago. Played the game in a way that I think a lot of people really admired, the way he played. It was very head down, do your job, get around the bases, humble more than flashy when you think about Ryan Sandberg. And you're too young to have seen Sandberg play. I actually got to see him play in person. First year of the Rockies, 93. I got to see a Rockies-Cubs game, and Sandberg was in the lineup that day. So I did get to see Sandberg play. He was maybe, if he wasn't the first baseball player I was aware of, he was one of the first baseball players I was aware of. There aren't famous baseball players like Ryan Sandberg in the way that Ryan Sandberg was famous, because he was on TV every day, everywhere. This was the Superstation era, right? You had the Cubs on WGN playing during the day, and you had the Braves on TBS playing at night. So even I'm a little young for the era where it was nothing but day games for the Cubs, and Sandberg really captured, I think, the imagination of the baseball viewing public in the 80s. But when you lived like I did early in my life in a place where there was no professional baseball, the Rockies didn't come till 93 when I was 6 or 7. So like my first memories of baseball on TV are the Cubs on WGN and the Braves on TBS. So Sandberg always felt a little bigger than life to me growing up as a baseball fan, the star player on the Superstation Cubs. 1990 is like the first season I even have like the vaguest knowledge of or sort of knowledge of knowing who baseball players were. And Sandberg was awesome in 1990. He had 40 home runs, led the National League, also led the National League in runs scored that year, won the Gold Glove, finished 4th in the MVP voting. A fabulous player, and then would go on to be a fabulous ambassador for the Cubs organization after his managerial career maybe didn't work out the way he wanted. Parts of 3 seasons as the manager of the Phillies, the organization that gave him his major league debut before he was traded to the Cubs in the 80s. Played with dignity, played with respect. The first I was aware of, and very, very sad to hear of his passing yesterday. Ryan Sandberg dead at 65. We'll take a timeout. When we come back, Mitch Holthus will join us for our second training camp report. We'll get the inside dope from the voice of the Chiefs next on 580 Sports Talk. .525 on 580 Sports Talk, and we are joined for the second day of many in a row during Chiefs training camp by the voice of the Kansas City Chiefs, Mitch Holthus, for another training camp report brought to us by Hy-Vee, your official tailgate headquarters for Kansas City Chiefs football, and by Azura Credit Union. Contact Crystal Rippey, Kirsten McCall, or Naseem Khan about the credit union advantage for your next home loan. Mitch, no Chiefs fan is ever going to take Patrick Mahomes for granted, given the history of the position that the Kansas City Chiefs have had, basically kind of between Len Dawson and Patrick Mahomes. Nobody is ever going to take 15's greatness for granted in the Chiefs kingdom. But I'm starting to feel like maybe from a national perspective, that is starting to happen a little bit, that people are taking for granted just how great this guy truly is. And I have a feeling he might be about to correct the record in 2025.
Yeah, and by the way, nice lead-in 60s game show music.
I'm glad you liked it.
Oh, yeah. Like the live band is back in the WWW studios. I feel like you need the long mic, you know.
The stick mic.
Drew Carey. Yeah, the big stick mic, which is that even real? Like, is that a hardwire? What is it? So, yeah, I love the 60s music. No, and so the down year of Patrick Mahomes, 3rd in completions, 4th in attempts, 7th in touchdown passes, 9th in passing yards. And if he would have played in week 18 and just give him his average, he would have finished 5th. Oh, by the way, let's wait for it. Patrick Mahomes was 17-2 as a starting quarterback. And when the numbers go to 17-4 in the playoffs, that's the best of any QB by far in his first 7 years as a starter, 89-23 in the regular season. No one in the Chiefs kingdom is close to taking him for granted, although there is kind of a sublime way to do it because you're just around greatness and you think you can just kind of, looking past stuff. But externally, outside of the Chiefs kingdom, there's just such a weariness about the Chiefs or Mahomes that I think are looking or begging or trying to find something and create a narrative that is completely wrong. He has been, I'm going to tell you guys, he has been on fire since May. And he's had a great start to this camp. Accuracy. He loves the way the guys came back. People, you asked me yesterday about, is there Super Bowl hangover? I don't see it. He doesn't see it. In fact, he likes what he sees.
No, it's been awesome. To see how motivated the guys are, how hungry they are, and just continue to get better and better. It's been great competition, offense, defense. Whenever that's happening and you're getting competition every single day, that's when you're getting better.
You're so analytical. What have you made a priority for this year specifically?
Yeah, for me, it's always footwork stuff, like being on time, being in rhythm, depth of routes, stuff like that. And then getting back to attacking downfield. Obviously, you want to stay surgical. You want to stay hitting the right passes, but at the same time, you want to be able to have that deep threat, and that opens up the entire offense.
Yeah, let's don't overlook what he said there because I think it's significant. And it's easy to just kind of gloss over it because what people hear, Dan, is they hear, oh, let's go deep, let's throw it deep. He said you have to stay surgical. And that was music to my ears, meaning he wants to be Bobby Witt Jr., where I can hit doubles and triples and I can hit a 3-run homer. But I don't sit there and swing for the fences every time. And so that's important, I think, going into this season. But he's excited, and he has played really well so far in this camp.
What are the elements? And how much of this is Mahomes and how much of this is what's around him? What are the elements to reintroducing that explosive pass game, that deep ball, that deep shot? Because last year there were teams that started, we had for years, they play the 2 deep safeties. That was supposed to be Mahomes' kryptonite because it got him in one AFC championship game. Oh, we're just going to play 2 high safety and we'll shut down the Chiefs. And then they went and won 2 straight Super Bowls. So now what do? Well, teams maybe adjusted back a little bit. Were more willing last year to give those deep shots, but they didn't materialize for different reasons. How do you get those to materialize, and how much of that is on number 15?
Well, it's like an algebraic equation. There's several variables, and the one variable is protection. To throw it deep, you've got to be in a 3 to 5 to 7 step drop, usually 5 to 7 steps. You can move the pocket some, but that means your protection, and that's where the whole Josh Simmons discussion is and why there's some excitement here. He's just ahead of the game. Now, let's don't put him in the Hall of Fame yet, but he's way ahead of where I thought he would be, or others thought he would be on July 29th. He's repping with the ones every snap. There's not rotation with Jalen Moore or anybody else. That's one. 2 is Mahomes is salivating
by having 4 human beings in his offense. One is Xavier Worthy, who we saw him grow. We're going to feature him in a later report. Now, he did have a head injury today. Hopefully that's not going to hold him out for a while. Hollywood had an ankle injury today, and hopefully that's not serious. I saw him at lunch. It didn't appear to be serious. Rashee Rice is third one, and then you throw in Brashard Smith. Brashard Smith now becomes a key part of this discussion. We know Kelsey's there, but Brashard Smith is not going to be out there all the time. But part of being explosive is throwing a 7-yard check down that turns into a 70-yard touchdown. And that is going to be a possibility. Pat hasn't ever had that. Hasn't had that guy. He's got it with Brashard Smith. And then I think, too, he's got to keep chain movers out there. Well, Jalen Royals has been really good in this camp and looks like a younger version of Juju Smith-Schuster. Then Juju's still here. And so even a Tyquan Thornton or a Nico Remigio, it's just that what surrounds him is what excites him. But he has to be protected, and that's where Josh Simmons or whomever wins the left guard role will be important.
We're joined by Mitch Holthus for our training report. Those are brought to you by Hy-Vee and Azura Credit Union. And Mitch, I know Patrick Mahomes is obviously the man, but how do you think he benefits from having guys in his quarterback room? It's been a carousel, obviously, the last few years of guys in that room, but how do you think he benefits from having guys that have started multiple games and have had success at points in their career to not necessarily not lean on, but like just as Patrick gets older, he gains more knowledge of playing the quarterback position because of the guys that are around him?
Well, it's a very astute observation and then resultant question, because Chad Henne filled that role, and we can go back, Nick Foles. You could come down the line with who Pat has had in that room. And now he's got Gardner Minshew. We can all chuckle about Gardner Minshew. He might look like Uncle Rico on Napoleon Dynamite, but he's actually has got a lot of experience, a lot of games, a lot of productivity. And he's kind of been hot and cold. It's just, we just see Gardner, but he's a willing participant in being 2 more eyes for Pat. Now, having Bailey Zappi here is a little more interesting than you know, because Zappi helped start the Houston Christian program, which is the old Houston Baptist team. Then they became Houston Christian. Well, his coach there coached Pat at Texas Tech. So then that coach goes to Western Kentucky. Zappi goes to Western Kentucky and blows up with giant yardage. But the fact that there's a relationship there that ties in Pat back to his quarterback coach at Texas Tech. So that one ends up being, hey, that's still valid as far as an idea exchange. And then Chris Oladokun, who has been very close to Pat off the field. But Oladokun is one who's super smart. He studies. He's the great guy to run the scout team when you're going to play Lamar Jackson or Josh Allen. But still, he brings some acumen to the table and some input. Matt Nagy has been great with Pat ever since day one. He was Pat's caddy back in the apprentice year of 2017. And so with Coach, and there's just these guys that surround Pat in that room that Pat appreciates and listens to.
I want to go back to your point, Mitch, about, and really it was Patrick's point about still wanting to be surgical. The Chiefs were so successful on third down passing situations last year, like so far ahead, streets ahead of the rest of the league. When it came to needing to convert a third down in a passing situation, the Chiefs did it better than anybody else, and it wasn't even close. I don't think second place was even in the photograph. Like everybody else is like Secretariat at the Belmont, in comparison. So the Chiefs have that ability to be surgical, to be really good on those third downs. What then can you do? What then can this offense do to make those situations even easier this year, even lighter on Mahomes and this receiver group, so that you can get third down, but you're not so reliant on, first and second don't go our way. Pat will figure something out on third.
Well, they were really good last year. We don't do the stat of the night like we do during the regular season, but I'll give you one. in that, and this is part of your point, but the Chiefs last year had 78 snaps of second down and 4 or less. That was by far the most in the National Football League. And so that led to some of those third down conversions. Well, that was Kareem Hunt, basically making sure that you got 5 yards on first down, or you didn't get stoned on, now you got 2nd and 10, or you're losing yardage and you got 2nd and 12. That's where it becomes really problematic. So there's that piece that's still here, and that will come into play. The other one I would say, I guess to answer your question, they were really good at it last year, but somebody's got to fill in the role to keep Juju Smith-Schuster going, and that's where Royals enters the picture, but also Noah Gray. Noah Gray this has been Noah Gray's best camp, Noah Gray's best off season. Now, he's not Kelsey, nobody is, but Noah Gray's getting better. He has not plateaued. He becomes a key piece of this issue. I'll give you a secret one, and we'll see how this goes, but Robert Tonyan, the ex-Packer, is here, and he becomes part of your answer. And I really hope he makes the team because he's doing something every day. He did it today. This was a hard practice, and he was at the end of practice pushing through it and made plays. So all of those come into play, but it could make you even more effective in keeping the surgical strike. Keep that surgical piece in your offense. Don't go back completely to 2018 and 19. And people forget that wasn't just bombing down the field every time. So, because you can have some ghastly possessions with deep incompletions. So keep the whole surgical piece in there. Don't lose that.
Last question for Mitch Holtz, the voice of the Chiefs, joining us for this training camp report on 580 Sports Talk. I've always admired Mahomes' perspective, and I think it's a unique perspective that he has on being a professional based on obviously his dad's experience as a professional athlete, what he was around growing up. He's remained grounded through the success that he's had over the years, very grounded with his family and his kids, and seems to have a really healthy perspective on the importance of football. But we also know he's got a chance to achieve beyond what any quarterback's ever achieved in NFL history. They had a chance to do something like that last year, and they just missed it by a game. But there is that historical opportunity for Mahomes, and I know he's aware of it. He may not speak to it out loud, but in what ways do you think that motivates him? You could call it being the GOAT or chasing Brady or whatever you want to call it, but in what ways does that maybe silently motivate Mahomes to remain at the top of his game and get better as he ages in the way that the guys he's chasing seem to?
So your question's very good, but you got a partial answer in your question. He's been able to stay balanced. I love the way that he loves his kids and his wife. I mean, it's his 7th grade girlfriend. And today was actually one of the people that was at practice that's key to him, and that was the guy that runs his 15 and Mahomes Foundation. And that's very instrumental in him and the way he is, because he's got a close group of friends from Tyler, Texas and Texas Tech that have been lifelong horizontal accountability friends that aren't all caught up in this stardom. They keep him grounded, but he loves those guys. He loves to be regular, and but that leads to him and what he does as a husband and a dad. Now, he's aware of all the things you alluded to. He also knows that he's just so aware of everything around him. His maturity, mentally and emotionally, is superb. People go, is he a good guy? I go, he's way better than you even see. And people see the State Farm and they see the Oakley and they see all the endorsements, Community America, but there's way more to Pat than anybody sees. And he's aware of all the stats. He's aware it could be greatest of all time, but he just shelves that somewhere in his mind. It's not a priority to him. And he is just so good at lifting up this entire team. He's critical tonight because this was a super hard practice. There's 10 guys on the injured list. And I mean, guys are the third day in pads, super hot, super humid, and one of the tougher practices I've seen in the 13 years of Andy Reid. Well, he's important tonight because they're going to be in meetings here in a little bit. And there's going to be dudes that are going to be like, man, I just want to go crash or get another 10 minutes in the ice bath. And Pat will be one to keep them on focus. He will have, we got to prepare for tomorrow and the next day and the next day and the next day. And Pat's just I mean, there's just not many quarterbacks that are aware that way. It's almost he thinks like Veach, he thinks like Coach Reid, he thinks like Clark. I mean, he just has an uncanny understanding of his surroundings. And he wants to be, the greatest of all time, but he's not obsessed with it. And he knows that there are areas where he can be the greatest and doesn't have to be greater than Tom Brady to be in those categories.
Unparalleled insight from the voice of the Chiefs, Mitch Holthus, for our training camp reports presented by Hy-Vee, your official tailgate headquarters for Kansas City Chiefs football, and by Azure Credit Union, where you can contact Crystal Rippey, Kirsten McCall, or Naseem Khan about the credit union advantage for your next home loan. Mitch, it is always a pleasure. Tomorrow, we'll be talking about a star of stage and screen who, in his job in the fall, his seasonal gig, is maybe the best tight end of all time. We're going to talk about Travis Kelce.
Yes, we are. But we're going to jump into what happened this spring and what's going on in this camp that's different maybe than any other time of his 13-year career. Appointment listening tomorrow, because this is going to be an exclusive bit and a soundbite nobody else has, but it's going to give you a glimpse into what Kelce is thinking. And so it's key for 2025.
Can't wait for it, Mitch. Thanks so much. We'll talk tomorrow.
You got it.
That is Mitch Holthus, the voice of the Kansas City Chiefs, our training camp reports. We'll take a timeout. When we come back, a little baseball talk as we round third and head for home on this edition of 580 Sports Talk. .545 on 580 Sports Talk. Our thanks again to Mitch Holthus for another outstanding training camp report. Looking forward to the one with Travis Kelce tomorrow. Coming up, top of the hour, we're going to hand it off to the Royals Baseball Network. Game 2 of a 3-game series between the Royals and the Braves at Kauffman Stadium. 6:40 first pitch. 6 o'clock pregame here on 580 Sports Talk. Then tomorrow, we got some day baseball for you. A 12:30 pregame and a 1:10 first pitch from the Royals Baseball Network, which means 580 Sports Talk tomorrow will start at the conclusion of the Royals broadcast and take you until 6 o'clock. You watch any of the game last night, Spence?
Yeah, I did until I didn't.
So, yeah, I turned it off after Riley's bases clearing double in the 8th and flipped it back on for the bottom of the 9th and saw all the 4 runs Kansas City scored in the bottom of the 9th. It was a difficult watch, as I talked about at the very beginning of the show. Could not get over how much Kauffman Stadium sounded like a Braves home game last night. Where did all the Braves fans in Kansas City come from? What?
I guess they all came to they chose this game to go to an away game.
Apparently, or this series. Like, okay, yeah, we're putting this one on our calendar. We're going to Kansas City in late July.
In the hottest time of the year.
Yeah. I don't know that would be my choice for the time to go and visit Kansas City as a visitor. But I guess maybe if you're from Atlanta, humidity's humidity. I just was shocked how much it sounded like a Braves home game last night. The team's not any good. I know they expected to be better. I know you buy your tickets before the season starts.
Yeah.
But just was really surprised that's how that ballpark sounded last night with the crowd rocking. And I did mention, we were talking earlier about Ryan Sandberg, that, the Braves were one of those superstation teams. And I've always said if the Rockies had never come to Colorado, number one, I would be a much happier person. Like my mental health would be so much better if Denver had never gotten a Major League Baseball team. And part of the reason for that is number two, I would have been a Braves fan. Like the 91 Braves, like that was my first favorite team as a kid. Glavine, Justice, Ron Gant, Terry Pendleton. I've got a signed ball from some Braves from that era that my grandma got for me. They were down in Florida for spring training. And, funny thing, who's on that ball is the Braves third base coach from that era, a guy named Ned Yost.
Interesting.
So I got Ned Yost signed baseball. He's on there with Terry Pendleton. I think Rafael Belliard. I don't know. I'd have to go look at the ball. Anyway, make a long story short. So the Braves had, at the time, a fairly widespread fan base. And a texter from the 316 points that out. That was the TBS crowd from all those years ago. I didn't expect that would exist in a major league city in the way that it did. That it would exist in Kansas City the way that, like, when it's Cardinals fans or when it's Cubs fans, like, yeah, I get that. Dodger fans, sure. Yankees fans, Red Sox. But, man, I was not expecting the Braves crowd to be so vocal last night. Yeah. And I'm not hating. Like, hey, listen, they had a lot more to cheer for than the Royals fans did. I was just surprised at the size of that Braves fan contingent. Hopefully there's a little less for them to cheer about tonight. They're going to send Eric Fetty to the mound, which is not promising from the Braves' perspective. Just picked up from the Cardinals, who DFA'd him a week ago, 3-10 with a 5.22 earned run average. Royals have Seth Lugo on the bump. So pitching matchup, you'd say, you said last night, advantage Braves. You would certainly say advantage Royals tonight.
I have a thought for you.
Okay.
And this is not just about ERA, but it's very high. I just don't think he's gotten into a good rhythm since he's come back. But I stopped watching last night when I felt like the Royals, I don't know, the proverbial flag was waved last night for me when they brought in Sam Long.
Yeah, they're not putting him in any situations where they feel like the game is in either any danger or any realistic chance of winning. He's kind of assumed the Chris Stratton mantle.
Yeah, so I turned it off. I looked over to Olivia and I said, they've waved the flag. Time to go watch something else.
Hopefully we don't see Sam Long tonight unless absolutely necessary. Royals lineup for tonight: Jonathan India at second, Bobby Witt Jr. at short, Vinny Pasquantino at first. Michael Garcia back in the field tonight. He'll play third and hit cleanup. Salvador Perez is DHing and batting fifth. Adam Frazier in right field batting sixth. Freddie Fermin is a catcher batting seventh. And John Raven left and Kyle Isbell in center round out the Kansas City order. For Atlanta tonight, Jurickson Profar is in left leading off, followed by Matt Olson at first and Ronald Acuna Jr. in right. Austin Riley, who had a big night, is the third baseman batting cleanup. Michael Harris, the second, moves up to fifth in center field. Marcelo Zuna, who had a big night last night, back in as the DH batting sixth. Drake Baldwin does the catching. He bats seventh. Ozzie Albies bats eighth. Second base, Nick Allen is the shortstop batting ninth. Vance asks, do I think the Royals can get to 500 by the end of the season? I think they can. They're not far away. It wouldn't take much, but it's going to be hard. And it goes back to what we talked about at the beginning. Like, you can see reasons why this team can make a run. You really can. They're there. They have the star, the guy who can carry you, the aircraft carrier in Bobby Witt Jr. They have a productive middle of the order that has gotten better, that has been, they played better baseball largely in the month of July. They still have some steady guys giving you good starts every 5 days in their pitching rotation. The back end of the bullpen is solid. You can see the ingredients. But last night also showed you every reason why they can't, because the bottom of the order isn't strong enough, because the starting pitching has too many question marks with Rich Hill and TBD filling spots. And now Rich Hill DFA, it's not going to be him. Not really sure how the Royals are going to move forward and replace. You don't really replace a guy like Chris Bubich, not the work that he's given you. So you see every reason they can and every reason they can't. I think if they landed at 81, if you told me right now they landed at 81 and 81, I would say that made sense. I would say that's probably about what they are, what they have been, and what they are on balance. Could they? But the thing about being a 500 team is 1 week where you outdo expectations, one extra bleeder a week, one extra atom ball that turns into an inning double play in a game you win by 1. Just one of those a week moving forward could be the difference between the Royals winning 81 or the Royals winning 87 or the Royals winning 74.
I mean, that's a series win versus a series loss, a 2-1 series loss, a 2-1 series win. That's the difference in what, or sweeps.
Yeah. And
instead of a 2-1 series win, you're sweeping 3 in a month instead of losing 3 series being swept in a month. And there's your difference.
And like we talked about, you've got to win your homestands, and the Royals have to win out to win this homestand. They got to win tonight. They got to win tomorrow if they want to have a winning homestand. And winning homestands are imperative when you are chasing a playoff berth. We'll take a timeout, come back and wrap up this edition of 580 Sports Talk next. Let's put a bow on this puppy with a final word. Spencer Dupuis.
It's not great when 2 of your top receivers go out in one day in training camp practice for the Chiefs, but it's going to happen, right? The Chiefs, for the most part, I feel like, didn't really have much of the injury bug through the first week of practice. It takes guys time to ramp up. They tweak an ankle here, they tweak something here or there, but luckily for the Chiefs, Hollywood Brown didn't manage to not do any big damage, so looks like that's good. And Xavier Worthy did return to practice, but it's gonna happen. They're gonna get the acclimation period, getting back up to full speed of play. It's gonna happen at some point. So better that it's small things and it happens now than happening at the very end of training camp right before week 1.
Final word for me today on the program is that was probably it for Rich Hill last night. Like, I cannot imagine a 15th Major League Baseball team is going to sign up for a ride on the Rich Hill roller coaster after what we saw from him last night. admire his grit and his tenacity and his durability, but you cannot defeat Father Time. And it was very clear last night that Rich Hill just could not pitch competitively, consistently at the major league level. So I do not think he will be the man who sets the record for playing for the most teams. He will remain tied with Edwin Jackson. And you know what? That makes me upset because I kind of wanted to see him make history. I mean, I wanted to see him do well for the Royals, come good for the Royals, but failing that, I want to see a team take a chance on Rich Hill. I am asking the teams who are out of it, who are cooked, who are toast. I'm asking you, Colorado. I am asking you, Miami. I am asking you. He never pitched for the Nationals, did he? I'm asking you.
He didn't. He actually got cut. He was supposed to. He got cut in 2015.
How about that? And so, see, we need a team that has never employed Rich Hill in the major leagues to employ Rich Hill and give him one more game, one more box on the immaculate grid, and give him that record of 15 teams played for in a major league career. If nothing else, do it in September. Rockies, you got nothing else going for you. Be the 15th team for Rich Hill. Somebody do it, please. Give him that, if nothing else. That'll do it for us. We're back tomorrow following Royals Day baseball until 6. For Spencer Dupuis, I'm Dan Lucero, and this was 580 Sports Talk on 580 WIBW. Good night.